Hi, hello, welcome to the Slade Ham Experiment. You're here. That means I'm here. Weird how that works, isn't it? It's my show. This is my nighttime place of respite, if you will. My little pod in the evening, where I get to get my microphone and get some stuff off my chest, vent more productively, as you'll hear. I'm trying to complain less without solutions. If that makes sense, perhaps I'll elaborate. Big hello to everybody in Louisville. That's all. Louisville. That's how you pronounce it. Louisville, Kentucky. Lewvul. Louisville. I was there with Jerry Wayne Longmire Jr. It's a mouthful of hillbilly right there. Jerry and I went to Louisville so I could return his voice to its proper location. You're taking me home, Slade. That's where that voice comes from. Appalachia. Man, he kicked ass. If you don't follow Jerry on TikTok, you should. It's at Jerry Wayne Longmire. We had a fantastic time. And who else worked with us? Jeremiah Martin he talked just like this too. Now he was from up the street in Lexington. Such funny dudes. And then it drew the southern drawl back out of me. We had a good time. This is the second week on the road with Jerry. We were in Washington before this. I dragged him all around D.C. And then this week he fell for it again. Let's go see a waterfall, Jerry. All right, man. He's a trooper. I didn't bring my Crocs this time. He put on real shoes. We went out in those Kentucky mountains looking for this stupid waterfall that does not exist. I don't know what the Native American word for that is. And I knew he didn't. When I say he's a trooper, he walked every goddamn step with me. But I could tell. I'm situationally aware. I try to be. You ever do that? Try to pay attention to the situation around you. Some people don't do that. You know what I mean? When when you're telling somebody a story and they start to check out on you a little bit, their body language changes. They kind of shift towards the door. Like they're listening, but their body's already given the keys to the valet. They start saying things like, oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. Man, that's wild. No joke. Oh, man. Man, that's wild. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, when that starts if this is news to you, listen to me. I'm going to pause for a brief moment and do the Lord's work. If that doesn't trigger, so if you're just casually like, yeah, some people respond to sentences all the time, and it's not registering, well, stop so I can whack you with the mallet. We're talking about you. You're a nightmare storyteller, and people are trying to politely tell you to shut your mouth and end your story and wrap it up and tie up all those loose ends you started and stopped and started and stopped. And they're asking you mercifully to say one last long story short before you barrel off into another 8-minute part of the story. Those people, we're all situationally aware, and we're trying to drop hints, and you're not doing your part. So I'm just saying I'm aware. I pick up hints. If your body's leaning towards the door, I wrap it up. If your body is panting and asking me questions like, do you know how to tell if I'm having a heart attack? I I don't ignore those cues. I don't go. So long story short, I pick up on it. I do the math real quick on shit. If he's having one, how far is the car? And you know what I mean? I'm situationally aware. So I try to give Jerry a little bit of some fun, some trivia along the way. If you're gonna have to suffer down the trail with me, at least let me make it entertaining, because I am aware that you're suffering and I'm trying to alleviate your suffering because you're my friend and you did this with me. So I would tell him pieces of history about where we were or something I had looked up, or I would bring up facts about local distilleries in the area or things to try and make the journey more encouraging and fun. You know, like the games you play in the car with kids, like the license plate game or slug bug or whatever. That's what I'm trying to do to make up for the fact that I've now tricked him into a second trip up an unnecessary hill. Hey, Jerry, you know about this trail? Yes, trail named after General Nope. He won the battle of my big ass ain't going up that mountain with you anymore, you dumb son of a bitch. In the year of 1860, fuck you. The year of our Lord. He just, man, I love you, but I ain't going no further. It's like, all right, have we gone deep enough into the forest for me to release your voice now? Can I go back to the car alone? I don't know where Jerry went. He followed his voice off into the woods. I think he makes apple pie moonshine now. We had a good show. We had a really good week. Hello to my friends Dana and Diana, all the fine folks at the Caravan there in Louisville. I'm trying to write a lot on stage, so this week was a lot of brand new stuff, and in fact, some stuff didn't even have stuff. I just had ideas, and we just talked about them. Not all of it worked. Not some of it didn't work. But we all the shows were good. I don't want to give any wrong impressions there. We kicked ass. If you were out there, a lot of you, my good friends, Becca and Chris and John and so many others. We had a good show, but you also know that I was lofting some new ideas out. So this episode, while I do have more than a half hour's worth of stuff to talk about, this episode we're going to play some stand-up, some clips from this week that are totally undeveloped. In fact, the ones I'm going to play, probably the ones I'll play, I haven't decided yet, but I know this one. They're not really premises even. They're just parts of the show where I kind of lost it and went off into a tangent. And that's a lot of how I'm writing some of my new stuff right now. I'm doing a lot of really diligent, for those of you who are interested in the kind of the guts of it all, the weeds. But I write a lot in advance. I write an enormous amount before I ever go on stage. And then I go on stage and I forget almost all of that and replace it with better stuff written on stage. But what writing all of this in advance does, I'm a terrible writer when it comes to sitting down. Think how to explain this. I'm not a good writer with like a pen and paper. My dear friend Andy Huggins goes to Cafe Brazil almost daily and sits down with a yellow legal pad and writes stand-up comedy. Here's a good beginning, and here's a good middle, and here's a good end. And he writes a bit, and it's amazing. I can't write jokes like that. Write me a monologue. I can't do it. But I can write the parts. So I'll sit down and I'll write what I want to try to get out in the right order, and I write a couple of really crappy punchlines, but it's enough to convince me it's stage-worthy, knowing that I'm going to sort of kill that bit and just rewrite it from the stage anyway. But I couldn't do it without writing the crappy part first, and that's kind of the part I've grown to love. I can't. This part is miserable, writing the jokes to begin with, and the stage is super fun. But it's not fun if I don't have this first. It's so Symbiotic. Is that a word that applies here? Anyway, so some of these places I am just riffing with no premise or anything else. And this father comes to the show, a little bit of context. Father and mother come to the show with their 21-year-old son. It's his birthday.
Your
we're all having fun.
Cheers, brother.
Here we are.
Cherry lemonade.
Cherry lemonade. Oh, wow. Starting out rough. A Zima, yeah. This dude's, yeah, that's your mind. You just told your age. That dude said Zima with a Jolly Rancher in it. Your dad has done ecstasy in '96. That is no doubt about it. I've been to that party. That is drinking that Zima. Get a shot. Don't do some electric lemonade. Your ass lives in Kentucky. Drink some whiskey. You're not driving, right? You and mom and dad. Yeah, all he's on is ecstasy. This is easy. You guys may stop at the light a little long to enjoy the colors, but it's, you know what I mean? You gotta listen to some really shitty music on the way home, but you don't have to drive. All you gotta do is sit in the back and put your dad on TikTok. I know what this generation does. Dad's on X. Next thing you know, you've got 1 billion followers and you're making more than me, and all you've done is fucking film your dad on drugs 3 times. I've been slaving away for 23 years trying to get the kind of following you'll probably get taping him on the way home. Fuck this generation. You raise him, buy him a Tamagotchi. Let him feel some pain. You ever had a Tamagotchi, Doc? I remember, I forgot to feed that little digital bitch one night and just, dead. $14.99 right out the window. You raise him, right? You take him home and you watch the never-ending story and you make him sit there till that fucking horse dies. That's what you don't know pain, young buck. Limping into this world 15 days after 9/11. I was born in this shit. Don't look at me. Don't look at us. Me and him, we were raised in the pain, brother. You don't fucking, you dumb electric lemonade. You fucking, my generation would break your neck. We threw rocks at each other. That's the whole game. That's the whole game. BB guns too. We had a game called Kick Wesley. That was the whole game. Neighbor kid named Wesley. He came outside, we kicked him. That was a whole... You would tell. Fucking weak ass generation on Twitter snitching. Fucking weak, sad, soft, pronounless, just communicating in clicks and whistles because words are fuck you, 21-year-old piece of shit. Out here, you just to the rest of you. You just happy birthday.
Yes. If you're just joining, then why would you be just joining? I still talk like I'm on the radio. If you're just joining, nobody joins a YouTube video already in progress. If you've made it this far, that's how I should say it. If you're still here, if you haven't been Squid Gamed off the show yet, my show's not for everybody, I've decided. Anyway, leave a comment. Do it. Think of us, this is my midnight spaceship. Where's yours? Pretend you're passing me in the intergalactic night. Sails afurl, your feet up on the dash, a glass of something you enjoy, some music playing in the background, 100 million miles to go to get to your destination. You pass another ship in the night, you honk your intergalactic truck horn. That's all. Do that in the comments. I don't know what that emoji looks like, but say hello as you pass me in this digital space. Whatever. It sounds like I'm bitching about that kid in this generation and everything else, and I'm trying to complain less. I'm going to talk about that on a different episode. But I am when I bring up the Twitter thing, one, it's because not Twitter, the TikTok thing. I'm constant. There's some idea I'm trying to work out there, and I don't know where it's gonna fall. But between some stuff I'm doing on stage and not so much that rant, but the concept of TikTokers and these influencers as careers is amusing to me, and I don't know quite where I'm going with it. So that's why it keeps coming up. That's why it'll bubble up until I figure out what I'm trying to say. But what's interesting is that what I said there was kind of true. It's for me, 23 years doing stand-up comedy, right? I can't imagine trying to sustain that. And that's what you would have to do, right? I don't know if everybody thinks of what they do as a career. Maybe you look at your job right now as something you're just doing in the short term and you don't really know what you do. Maybe you're on pace for a pension or retirement or, whatever. I didn't initially look at this, but now I look at my life and my what I do with stand-up comedy as a career. And I can't fathom the contemplation of doing stand-up for 23 years if I didn't like it is just insane, which is why something shivers inside of me when we get to the TikTok place. All my friends are doing well. Jerry Wayne, again, you can go back and visit his page. He's killing it. Y'all should do it, man. You should do it. You should be on TikTok. Where are you on TikTok? You chop little clips up and you put them up, but it's work. And I know that here's why I can't do it. Because I'm hyper aware of the biology going on inside of me when all of this stuff happens, right? When you get likes, when you get responses or shares or comments or attention or followers or whatever those things are. I've been steer wrestling my dopamine release like my whole life. Talk about addiction or things like that. Like I think you become very aware of how you respond to things, right? Like what your reward system is. For most of us, the way dopamine works is when and you can go back. I couldn't give you the source. I should look up the source if I'm going to say stuff. But the dopamine release mechanisms in humans come from our hunter-gatherer ancestors. And and not just hunter-gatherer ancestors. I don't mean this just even with people. I mean this evolutionarily all the way back to probably the first cell or whatever. But the reward system pays off the search for resources, right? Whatever that is you're looking for, water or food or love or happy, whatever that is you're looking for, you're foraging for it. And when you find it, your brain gives you a reward for having found it. That's what makes you want to go find more. Dopamine's not a happiness or a feel-good chemical. It's a chemical of more. So I know how my brain produces that shit, and I have to fight it because it gets attached to horrible things super easily. And it's not like your dopamine levels kick it at a certain level. And when you get that release from having done something cool, your levels go up. And then eventually they go back down. The problem is they don't go back down to regular base. They go back down to like a lower base. And it takes longer. So the next hit doesn't get you up as high. You need a bigger win. Easily you can go back and you can look at all of how this works in terms of addiction and human brains and all that. I'm not a scientist. But I know that in order to do these things, you have to keep producing. And if you're only attached to the outcome, if the dopamine release doesn't come until the very end, then you're not going to be able to sustain it. And I don't know how to explain this, but there's you can trick yourself, not trick yourself, but convince yourself to enjoy the process along the way. That's why I say these jokes I write ahead of time aren't even really good jokes. They're just placeholder jokes. They're things I write so I have something to go to the stage with. And the act of writing those jokes, even while that sucks, doesn't suck because I've tricked my brain into giving me the more chemical in exchange. Have you ever eat? It's like shame eating. I brought that up a couple of episodes back. But it's like, you ever just been shoving stuff in your fat face and not been able to stop, even though you feel terrible? Your brain says more. You can get yourself to that place, but with work. And not, you don't want to do this for your insurance office. You don't want to come in gung-ho and addicted to doing menial clerical bullshit. But as an artist, you can do this. And this is songwriting or comedy writing or painting or what. I don't know what your thing is, but you can get yourself there. And that is the whole magic to it all. Now, if you're a TikToker who's videotaping, in this stupid example, his dad on hypothetical drugs on a car ride that didn't happen anywhere but my fake bit, then I don't think you can sustain that, because the dopamine hit you're going to get from 1 million views, you can't go back and reclaim that. You're going to chase it, and you're going to get unhappy. That's where you're going to wake up every day. Well, I don't know how all of TikTok hasn't killed itself, is all I'm trying to say. It's a grinding process. And maybe this is exclusive to, I don't want to say exclusive to my generation, because it's certainly, my generation does not have it at all in most cases, but the development of it seems to have been indigenous to the ecosystem I came up in, which is this willingness to grind. And I played a lot of RPGs as a kid. There's a foraging concept in these role-playing games where you try to build up your character, and the dopamine rush doesn't come from getting further in the game. It comes from building your character early on. And I don't know how you mirror that trait in real life, but to take the pressure of reward off of the thing you're making and put it onto the act of making it, I think is a worthwhile attempt. I think to shift that dopamine release so it's coming out in the process and not at the end, I think is what makes it worthwhile, because then you can write into the night and accomplish nothing, and put 30 pages of what you think is amazing out at the time, and then reread it the next morning and realize that it's utter shit, and highlight and delete 60,000. It's amazing how much you don't get done when you're getting stuff done. Anyway, that's how you can do that and be totally fine with it, because you know that the act of having written all that stuff, even though you threw it away, is still somehow making you better at what you're trying to do later. And then your brain gives you the dopamine, and at least you can get through your day and breathe a little bit. So there, play more role-playing games. It makes you a better writer. This next bit is interesting because I didn't know it was going to happen. It's not a stand-up bit. It's the only place I've ever written anything about it was in my book. And I wrote a chapter about my cats and transporting them to Los Angeles. Now, this book is years old. It came out in 2018. So I don't remember any of this other than the general plot. So when this woman in the crowd somehow interjects, letting us know that she works as a cat veterinarian, drug dealer. Chewy's is the name of the place. I find my way into this story, and it's always cool to see something that I didn't know was going to be stand-up try to become stand-up, because then you're like, hey, maybe this is going to be stand-up one day. I really don't know. But here's some more of the grind with me and Cat Lady, and this one kind of got fun. I had a good time with it, and I'll be right back.
Here's the only experience I have with ever having to give an animal some medicine. I was moving from Houston to Los Angeles, and I had 2 cats at the time that my ex, I will tell you about possibly later, killed them. But the point is, but pre-kill, I had moved them to Los Angeles, and I don't know if you've ever tried to drive 26 hours in a car with 2 cats, but fuck that. It was the most, so one of them is kind of chill. He's fat, he doesn't give a shit, he's way overweight, whatever, bro, where are we going? Just put some food in here and blow some weed smoke in the back, you know what I mean? But the little one, this little bucket of dumb, she just white fur, like a little cross, like, you know what I mean? Like, just like she had, you've seen those cats, those a little dumb. Some days she would just sit there and look at the dishwasher for like an hour with the eyes crossed and nothing in the dishwasher. Like it wasn't running. It wasn't like she was attracted to the purr, like it might have been a fake parent, or she just sit there. But she was feisty. She would chase invisible shit, all that. So I had to put her in this little kennel to get her there. So the I guess the guy who does what you do, the drug dealer for the animals, gives me this prescription. And he goes, well, just give her one, like half a pill or a whole pill, depending on how much, she's active or whatever. And I go, okay, well, how? Because I have a cat and I have pills, but I don't know what goes in between that. I did that. Where you grab the mouth like that, like she's a porn star, and I fish hooked her, and I don't know how many pills I gave her, because you couldn't, they would pop out and then they would land in the carpet, and I would look for a second, but then I was like, I gave up. So I would just assume that it fell in I might have given her 8 pills, but she slept the whole fucking way. Y'all should put instructions. Okay, well y'all should tell people like me to read them. I admit that it was user error, but the likelihood. Anyway, they're dead now. So the point is.
All right, there you go. Some comedy, change of pace. This is an experiment, so I'm allowed to do whatever the hell I want. Honk your horn, do your little thing, say hi in the comments as you pass by. If you rate these things on whatever your platform is, it's appreciated, but I will not shake you down like some hustler. Come see me live September 16th and 17th, Fort Worth, Texas. One of my literally favorite clubs that I play. All the clubs I still play are clubs I very much enjoy. I'm doing them on purpose. So Fort Worth is that way. September 28th at the Houston Improv. Get your tickets at improvtx.com. I'll be there with Jerry Wayne Longmire. That's a guaranteed sellout between the two of our audiences. Despite being a Wednesday night, it will be chock full of celebrities and fun guests and us doing brand new shows. And then October, I make a lovely return into the Great White North. But just into Ontario, I will be in Ottawa and Toronto. And you can catch me there the 18th through the 30th in various forms. So, do that, and then if you're interested in, if you want to know anything more about dopamine and how your dumb brain works, Dr. Andrew Huberman. I looked the name up, and now I think I'm forgetting it. Huberman, Huberman. Some really cool podcasts about different ways to mess with that. That's my official medical term. To mess with that. So, SladeHam.com. If you want tickets to shows, there should be links over there. I encourage you to watch live stand-up comedy. It was so good to see Louisville bring some local comics out, and we had a good time. So, if you get a chance, get out and do something of your own. Explore a little bit. See the world. Find a waterfall that's not there. Drag your friend around DC. Make them sweat a little bit. Damn it, Slade. Most importantly, if you're a writer, try and find a way to trick your brain into enjoying what it's doing now and wanting to do more of what it's doing now instead of trying to do more of what it thinks it's going to get later, because that shit will just screw you up. I'm Slade Ham. This is my experiment. I love you for being here with me. I'll see you on another episode soon.